Hi guys, I've got another power supply here, WideTech 600 watts power supply. From my experience, well, limited experience, I would have thought WideTech would have been alright, power supplies, but just show you here, got a few suspicions. This is the actual circuit board here. So basically, key components: size of the transformer, size of the caps, and the size of these here oftentimes will give you a better indication of the power output of the actual power supply in my experience. This one here, not particularly good at all, to be honest. What I'm looking to do is power up this computer here. This one here has a Sapphire Radeon 6950, takes 200 watts maximum. It's got a quad core, takes 100, 120 watts when you max it out, plus everything together. Looking at about 350 watts that need to run. Now theoretically, this power supply should be able to handle that with ease, 600 watts. But I don't believe that's 600 watts at all. I think that's a complete lie. It's 27 amps. I think that's the maximum output. That's not ongoing output. There's a difference between peak output versus ongoing. Totally different. But we're going to test it out and see. The caps on this, not particularly good, as in size. The size are only like, what are they? 470 microfarads. I'll just bring that up. Okay, bring that. 470 microfarads, that's less than average. The average is roughly 680 microfarads for a good mid-range power supply from my experience, so that looks pretty dodgy. These cores are a little bit undersized from my experience. They're about almost average, but yeah, the size of that transformer, well, yeah, I suppose that is about average. As for the rest of it, it does have, the top has a nice big, like, what is it, interference filter or whatever that is on the AC side as it comes in. And plugged in over here, so that's the input here, before it gets rectified. What really concerns me is these little dodgy diodes. They're only like really small. I don't like that at all, but anyway. So yeah, looks pretty dodgy. But anyway, we're going to test it out, see if this can actually put out 350 watts or not. So what I've done is just added this cable, soldered it directly to the motherboard, because it didn't have anything like that. It needs to have two 6-pin connectors for that graphics card. So there's going to be no issues with this wiring here. This is fine. I've just finished soldering it directly to the motherboard, and I'll just put it back into the case. Yeah, my experience, the best way to determine a power supply output is to feel the weight of the whole thing. The heavier it is, the more output it can put out, because it's going to have better quality heat sinks, probably bigger caps, bigger transformer in general, more things like interference filters, which is a better idea. More things like that, the better. It's not an exact science, but it is a very good indicator of a power supply output is the weight of it, and also the thickness of these cables. If these are lightweight, thin cables, guaranteed, forget about the label completely. It's a garbage power supply. It's only going to put out like 150 watts, 200 watts ongoing. If it's medium size cabling, this one here feels okay. It's reasonable. It's not the heaviest I've ever felt, but it's probably about a medium range from the weight of the cabling. It's not the best. It's not the worst either. Anyway, we're going to put this back together, put it in the computer, and test it out. We'll be back in a minute. Cheers. Okay, welcome back. I've got the, as you can see, the power supply installed. I've just roughly speaking, just to get it for testing purposes. I've got the connector here going into the graphics card. Voltage 12.3. Pretty good voltage, pretty solid. Yep, I've just loaded up Windows. I actually haven't fully loaded the testing it out yet, so let's do that now. Okay, so let's put that there, over here, and we'll start with the Prime 95. We'll load up the CPU and also the graphics card simultaneously. It's necessary for the power supply at least to be able to handle that for a little bit, even just like a second or two, because occasionally this does happen in heavy gaming with this particular quad-core CPU. It's not the highest rated one, so it might get a bit of work onto it, and the graphics card as well. If someone tries to run a late model game, it needs to be able to at least be able to run maxed out for at least for a while, as a minimum, both the CPU and the GPU together. Alright, so let's try that. Okay, so what do we got? So that's running. Hardly any difference on the voltage. That's not too bad. And graphics card. Let's just run 1080p. What's the voltage? Alright, it's dropped below 12 now, so yeah, as I would expect, but it is holding. That's interesting. A very slight noise coming from the power supply. It's obviously loaded up a bit. So it actually does run. 12 volts is totally fine. And we'll just let that run for a minute or two. As you can see, it's not the high-end graphics card, 29 frames per second. It's a bit on the low end really. It's only like a low to mid graphic gaming machine. GPU loading, pretty much 100% loaded out, which if you're running mid-level games, it's always going to be, or above, it's always going to be that case anyway. 12 volts is looking pretty good actually, surprisingly. I've got the voltage directly at the video card. It shouldn't be much of a voltage drop because I've got lots of wires going into it directly from the power supply. Score was it 1690? Yeah, that's normal for this graphics card. Voltage has gone up back to 3.37. This should still be running. So if I just stop that test and go exit, voltage should pop up a little bit. Is it right? It was running. Didn't seem that much, not a whole lot of difference, interestingly enough. That's weird. Try it again. Alright, so we've got 12.37. Run. Yeah, okay. 12.22. It's quite possible that was not running before. That's weird. Let's try it again. 1080p. Okay, mustn't have been running the CPU thing before. Now it's gone to 11.85, which is still fine. Anything about 11.6 and above, I'm pretty happy with. It's still fine. So under full load, this is obviously maximum load. It's never going to see this maximum load for that long in most situations. But I want to just check that it can actually run it. And it does run it. How about that? Yeah, 11.8 is not a bad voltage. So it's okay. As long as it can hold that, it's fine. Well, back from our little debacle there. The thing just basically blew up. Heard some big sparks and it just cut out. And I just had a quick look at it. I can't see anything directly blown up, but cut a little. There is a little resistor, just a couple of little resistors down the bottom there. That one on the left, you can see it in the middle, is a bit toasted. And that one on the left up the top of those three, that bank of three, is a little bit discoloured as well. We can't see it on this video, but that's all I can see. But it's no longer turning on. So basically, that is a fail. 600 watt is complete garbage. I could tell from looking at it, it was not 600 watts. So it's more like it's a 200 watts power supply basically, and if you're lucky, 250. That's all it is. So there you go. Complete garbage. These labels are often a lot of rubbish. Can't rely on them at all. You can only rely on the weight of and particularly looking inside of it. But if you can't even look inside it, just feel the weight of it. It should be quite heavy. The heavier it is, my experience, the more powerful it will be. Because if they're going to put heavier transformers and things in it and heat sinks, then the rest of it's going to be all done up the same way to match. It's going to be all about the same level of quality, generally speaking. Well, there you go. That's a fail. 600 watts WideTech power supply debunked. Okay, thanks. I'll let you know if I ever fix it, and I'll come back. But for the moment, that's it. Thank you. Cheers. Bye.